गणेशाय नमः। ॐ श्री सरस्वते नमः। ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयम् एवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। I welcome you to this rather informal satsang that we are having tonight at the request of some of you who are very eager to learn some parenting tips. And so I'll put together some pointers very fast, and I was still doing it just 10 minutes ago. So some slides may not have beautiful pictures that I've tried to put together, but that's what it is. So I have called this, the title, a sacred art. And so every word that I have put here has some meaning to it. It's sacred because it is not just a secular activity. It requires the personality's core being to function as the parent. And when you are performing an art, it is not just a science but an art. Now what is the difference is that when you are being artistic, you are being very free and creative rather than following just the rationale and logic. You understand? So the role of parenting essentially is an art. It is not just a science. You cannot always function logistically and clinically towards children, because children are not things. They are divine beings who have acquired these personalities that are essential for them to live the activity of life and grow and evolve. Therefore, the title, The Sacred Art of Joyous Parenting. It says here, perhaps one of the greatest responsibilities is that of another life. When we are responsible for another life, we have to leave aside all the other responsibilities and focus exclusively on that, should be the attitude. More so when you have to nurture it, educate it, and guide it towards the life that is most suitable to it. And who is that, that entity? So we as parents are required to nurture a life. That analogy will come along and we will focus on each of these points. These are just the general pointers. And it says here that we have to do all that is suitable for that entity, not projecting our ideology and our likes and dislikes on that entity. Yet, millions of parents do it all the time. What? Parenting. Some with a lot of effort, some without a thought. So what really is good parenting is the question that we all ask. And this says it all. I was browsing through the internet about parenting, and most of the spiritual sites that refer to wholesome parenting have been quoting Khalil Gibran. And he is a Sufi poet, who has written lots of poems in the book called The Prophet. And he says it very succinctly here. Each point is very valid. Please think about it as I share the thoughts. Your children are not your children. What does it mean? They are not your possessions. They are not your property. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. So life is all-pervasive consciousness, and it has its own cosmic plan within which it is functioning in the form of all living beings that are created by the Supreme Consciousness. They come through us, so we are instrumental. Okay? They come through us, but not from us. They are not germinated from us, they are germinated within us, and we are choosing to be instruments. Okay? And though they are with us, yet they belong not to us. Therefore, each point says, learn to detach and understand that we are nothing but the Lord's instruments. Okay? You may give them love, but not your thoughts. This is very deep. You may share your thoughts, but you don't try and impose your thoughts onto the child and say, what I'm saying is the supreme truth and nothing else. You can share the ideas and nurture them to expand their vision through the thinking process. And for they have their own thoughts, because they have come as a package, and they have come with their destiny, and they are required to do their own self-efforts to fulfill their desires. You may house their bodies, but not their souls. You cannot capture their souls. Okay? You cannot possess them, please. That's the most futile attempt and illusion within which parents are living today. For their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow. Okay? Because life is a process, and they are just flowing through their thoughts as we all are doing. Okay? So today's parents were yesterday's children, and today's children are going to be tomorrow's parents. So it's an ongoing activity that has to be understood and digested before we go forward in nurturing a life that is our child. We cannot visit, which you cannot visit, who? The house of tomorrow. Okay? You cannot know what tomorrow is, and their souls are always pursuing fulfillment of their desires to reach their destinations in the form of their own ambitions and wishes. So who are we trying to really put them in small boxes and make them think the way we want for them to think? Neither we are able to step out of the box, nor we are encouraging them to live out of the box system. And that is where we are constantly unnatural in our conduct towards the children. You may strive to be like them. You may really want to be jovial and joyous and natural like they are, but seek not to make them like you, because you cannot. They cannot become your designed structures as if you are just, stamping or coining them one at a time. You can't do that. They are not things, that is what they are not matter. They are spirit and souls. And I'll share with you the difference between spirit and soul as well as we go along. Life goes not backward, nor tarries with the yesterday. So, in other words, just accept things as they are generating, as they are unfolding, because you cannot live in the past, nor can you access future to know what is going to unfold. The art of living and parenting is to live in the moment at every breath. That is the way to do it naturally. He says, you are the bows from which children as living arrows are sent forth. You are used as instruments. We choose to be instruments of the Lord, and we are, that's why they are called offspring. They generate out of us. That's why they are offsprings. And he bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. It's very philosophical. I don't want to get stuck in explaining this only, but it is the Lord's will and wish that is being functioning through all the entities that are choosing to be parents in all species throughout the universe. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness. Do everything joyfully. Be open-hearted. Be open-minded. That is the gladness that is being referred to. For even as he loves the arrows that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable. In other words, when you as the instrument are wholesome and steady and balanced and focused, then the Lord is happy with you um, as the bow, and then when you shoot the arrow, the child that is coming out and growing, then the Lord is happy with that activity as well. So that is what is the idea. Then we'll go to another beautiful analogy which is very spiritually and used by a lot of Swamis like our Gurudev Swami Chinmaya, Swami Vivekananda. To be an excellent father or mother requires a great deal of understanding oneself and also the children. And a parent ponders, I do not know how to bring up children. After a pause, he says, I guess it's pure guesswork. The irony of this man is that he is the publisher of an Indian magazine on parenting. And what he says is that I don't know how to do parenting. I guess that you just have to do it guessing at a time what to do. So tonight we are going to explore the nuances involved in wholesome parenting. And just not wholesome but joyous parenting. Serving the children is essentially the criteria. Why? Because children are not a choice. They are not our life choice. The Lord resides in them, and we are serving the Lord as we nurture these new lives who are planted onto this earth by the Lord through us. And what do we need to do? We need to make them self-disciplined. We need to make them self-motivated and self-directed. I believe that those who have studied economics and management, they would be familiar with the Maslow's theory of self-actualization. I'll explain that and then go to these points here briefly. What it is saying is that in life, we go through stages and phases. You cannot preach Vedanta to a person who lives in a shanty town and is struggling to make the ends meet, seeking food every day, not having enough to clothe himself. So the physiological requirements are to be fulfilled first. And so it goes for all the living beings, and as a parent it is necessary that we take care of all the requirements of a new child or new life very, very practically and systematically. What does a person need? Breathing, food, water, sex, sleep, etc., etc. Those are just instinctual to all the living beings, okay? Safety is the second criteria for all the living beings. Security of body, of employment, resources, morality, of the family, of health and property. So this is where we need to be secure. So long as we are feeling secure in this criteria, we are going to be able to extend ourselves wholesomely towards our children. Next point is love and belongingness, friendship, family, intimacy between the spouses, etc. And then comes self-esteem, confidence, achievement, because these are subtler requirements and fulfillments needed. Respect for others, respect by others. And then finally we reach the the climax of achievement at the subtlest level, where we imbibe within the children the aspects of morality, creativity, spontaneity, problem solving, lack of prejudice, acceptance of facts, etc. This will be elaborated further later on. So let's go here and see, is parenting a trial or error learning process, as that man said, guesswork? Does any parent really know all the answers to the situations that arise in the process of like a new, living with a newborn baby? Not really. Parenting is a challenging responsibility. It requires one to be a proficient multitasker. What do you need? To be a midwife in the transition from babies to adulthood. We need to be in a position to influence the future generation in their formative years. We need to prepare them to face life, to impart the right values to them, to see that they grow up right. That includes being healthy, smart, extraordinary in every aspect of life's living. So you wish that your child is perfect. And yes, there are no shortcuts to good parenthood. Can a child be perfect? No. That is a utopian attitude, and we are foolish if we think like that. Some parents instinctively play their role right, others learn through their mistakes, and still others never learn. Some children grow up surrounded by loving grandparents, doting aunts, plenty of cousins, etc. But could that alone guarantee positive growth? No. Today, the scenario demands multitasking and numerous jugglings. The father today is an equal role player, unlike in the olden times. Actually, he doesn't even have much choice, does he? Mothers are moving on to careers, and at the very least, they are part-time jobbers, and they have flexible hours. Then there is the added threat of television, etc. We have so many challenges that we face as we try to be good parents. So what do we do? Where do we go? How do we try and cope with it? Parenting is best and most effectively performed when treated as a spiritual exercise. Parents always need to remember that it is God's light that shines through children. They must love their children as gifts from God, and try to remember this fact even in the worst of times, especially when the children are passing through their troublesome teens. They look like monsters, but you have to remember it's only a facade. Right? They are looking for something deeper, and we need to understand that. Guruji says to us, parenting is one of the most challenging, rewarding, confusing, complicated, and important jobs we undertake in our lives. He says, we all want similar things for our children. We want them to be successful, to have values and integrity, and above all, we want them to be happy. But how do we do this? We can read books on child psychology, follow the examples set by others, or just do our best and hope to learn as we go along. Guesswork. Or we can spend a little time, money, and effort in learning what time-tested Eastern wisdom has to offer. Because while we invest years of study and preparation into our careers, how much time do we actually devote to learning the art of parenting? It follows then that your role as a parent is that of a guardian only. What do you mean? You do not own your progeny and have no right to mold them in your image. My parent didn't do it, so I want to make sure I do it. What? I want to make her a dancer because I was so good at it and I couldn't finish with my arangetram, So I think my child will be good at it and I'll be so happy. That day will be my best day because I'll have fulfilled my desire. That is so selfish. The child says, Mom, I'm not interested in dancing. So what do you want to do? I want to do gymnastics. What? What are you going to do with gymnastics? Mom, I want it. Forget it. No, forget it. We are not going to go there. This is how we are constantly struggling, fulfilling our desires. Am I right or not? That is so selfish. And you say, no, I'm such a good mother, good father. Who's cheating whom? Think about it. The goal should be to conscientiously actually strive to love the children as much as possible and get attached to as little as possible. No matter how eager or ambitious you are in shaping your children's lives, there is a limit to what you can accomplish. Gurudev says, um, and so does here, it's just a jovial aspect. He says, do you need a guru? So whenever you teach, is there, whatever you teach is in the books. What do I need a guru for? So Gurudev says, why don't you ask this question to the books itself? If you are trying to be so smart. Okay, so here is a beautiful analogy, and I keep on sharing that even in the Gita talks. You cannot make a plant grow in soil that is unsuited to it. A child teaches itself. What does it mean is that a child, we all have come as packages. What does it mean? That body, mind, intellect chart says it all. When we come as a package, we have got within us a pre-programmed, actually we set it up, the program, which has got a memory bank. And in that is the essence of our likes, dislikes, our desires, and our traits. Okay? Not in terms of record of everything that we did in the past, but the essence of it. Whatever we have done repeatedly as habitual behavior has become a part of our vasana, the fragrance of my soul, and that we bring forward. So you cannot expect a child to really be something that you want the child to be. A child comes with its own specific qualities and proficiencies. Let's say one child is very good at music. Another child is very good at math. One child is just good at drawing. This is because they have practiced that in their past lives. And they have become so proficient at it that as soon as they are able to, they start to connect with those traits and become better at it. And so what is the duty of the parent is to check out what soil which suits the child. Soil meaning nurturing and feeding, and the foundation. So a child teaches itself in the sense that it naturally starts to utilize its own vasanas and proficiencies to grow by itself. You just need to give them the right surrounding and conditioning. So if it is a plant of a lemon, the seed will grow lemon. You cannot expect it to grow orange. You see, a child is a child that has got its own qualities. All parents need to learn to become good psychologists so that you can really understand what is required in a child. One of you had asked me this question, that my child is so good at some particular subject and I'm telling him to practice that, learn that, but he is not interested. What it means is that a child can have a multi-facet proficiency, but it does not mean that his heart is into all of that. He chooses what he wants to do. Okay, so he chooses that. A child teaches itself and the child chooses how it wants to grow. That's why you will see, for example, that some plants, it's so amazing. Sometimes I would be traveling by train and I would see that in a wall which is made up of stone, suddenly you'll see a small plant coming out. And just one tiny plant is growing out of the wall. So it has got its own desire to grow, and it finds the sunshine and it starts to bloom. If that plant can do it, if you give the right nurturing, imagine what cannot be done with a child. I hope you see what I'm trying to say here. But you can help it to go forward in its own way. What you can do is not of the positive nature, but of the negative. Well, that sounds rather bizarre, but it is true. What it means is that by forcing, you are being negative. Okay? It is very natural. Say, for example, we are also given the example of being like potters. Alright? We are like gardeners or we are like potters. Potters use clay. A gardener uses soil to plant a seed or to create a pot. Now, first you need to know how to use the machine to make a pot out of clay. Then you need to know how to hold it. Then you need to use it in the right manner and give right kind of pressure. And if you have not given the right shape, you can only readjust the shape when the clay is wet. Once the clay has dried, if you try to shape it up, what happens? The clay starts to break. If a plant is potted in the soil where there is not enough manure and right kind of stuff that we need to put in, the plant will sprout, but it will not grow at the regular speed. Then what do you need to do? When it is just sprouting, you can put it in a small container. But as soon as it starts to grow further, you got to shift it to the bigger pot or on the ground, which is going to be even and healthy. It goes with it works the same way for the children. When a child is starting to grow, but the moment it starts to communicate and starts to register the realms of the externalities, it starts to, the experiences start to concretize as memories within the psyche. So before the child starts to become stubborn and rigid in its ways, it is the job of the parents to really make sure that there are rules in the house, that the child's habits are healthy and wholesome, that if a child is excessively aggressive or too withdrawn, that one needs to understand what is happening here. Some experience or physiological or biological or psychological nurturing is lacking to make the child behave the way that it does. Naturally, when the child cries, we know that either it is hungry or sleepy or wet like that in the beginning. But as the child starts to grow and gets extroverted, a lot of influence starts to come. And based on the previous traits, past traits, a child starts to show either excessive aggressiveness, or it will start to show curiosity. It will start to show love naturally. These are the traits that have to be observed by a parent. To get two together is even better because the team works better. And then, as soon as the child starts to go to the school or interacts with others, when the child doesn't listen or does not do what is being told, that the parent needs to look in the eye and say, I told you, what did mommy say? You have to do it like this. Do you understand? And child will, or like that, they'll do like that. They'll purposely irritate them because that's their age, terrible truth. I'm amazed that parents react. Well, ऐसे क्या करता है? पता नहीं, you should not be like, अरे बाबा, 2-year-old doesn't know anything. At that time, if you hug the child and then say, sit down here. Mommy says no. If mommy says no, not doing. If you do it, mommy will give punishment. Understand? And do it. If you don't do it, then the child will know mommy only says it. And that is the way you are, and you are making the pot grow, be molded, twisted. Or the plant growing this way, what do you need to do? You have to put a stick and tie it so that it grows straight. You need to tie the child with rigid, not rigid, but discipline. That discipline and strictness are essential, that is what is called in Sanskrit tadayati. Tadayati, lalayati means nurturing. Tadayati doesn't mean hitting, but disciplining. And that is required at certain age because you need to mold the child in the right way. So once you start to give them the right understanding of what is to be done, what cannot be done, what is not acceptable, then from that time onward the child will start to acquire these as natural habits. And it is so crucial that we plant the seeds and the plants accordingly so that the foundation becomes strong. Okay, if the foundations in the bricks in a foundation are loose, after we grow up, especially now, I've seen some parents come to me for guidance, and I am amazed that very highly qualified parents, mother or father, they are so insecure within because of their lack of emotional nurturing when they were children. They feel so lacking in their inner self-esteem. They lack in knowing that they are okay. They are constantly seeking approval of the husband or the mother-in-law or others, so that they would feel okay. And that is a very sad reality. And know that the same way the children, when they grow up, they will have the same loose bricks in their foundation unless we nurture them correctly. Loosen the soil a little so that it may come out easily. Don't be too rigid, don't be too strict. Allow them to experiment, understand. When they ask questions, you explain to them at their level. If you start to say, because I'm saying so, do it, or else you're going to sit in the corner and shut up. No noise, I've seen these fathers, especially, they become so cruel. And it's like, the child can't even sob naturally. This is just utterly shameful. And what happened to the spirit in the child? It just gets subdued and it cannot grow naturally. You see, put a hedge around it. This is very important. When a child is growing, you need to make sure that they are safe. If there are bullies around in the neighborhood, you want to make sure that your child is not affected by such bullies. So you will really nurture them and keep them secure. Just as you would make sure that you put a hedge around it, or you will have some restrictions for the child that no, you cannot be playing after 5 o'clock in the evening when it's dark outside. You got to come home, and such rules. Right? They are essential. That is the hedge. Right? You cannot do anything else. This is the way you have to nurture the plant. You have to be the gardener, and that is your role. The rest is a manifestation from within its own nature, in the sense that a lemon is bound to be strong and bitter and tardy. Strawberries are bound to be sweet and yet sometimes sour. Oranges are supposed to have their own taste. Every creation in the universe has its own purpose. And only the Creator knows why He has done what He has done. We don't know. Who are we to really sit on the seat of judges and start to project our own notions onto everything? We don't have to do that. Extend this analogy further. Early childhood can be compared to the soil that is just prepared for sowing the seed. It is a great opportunity in the life of a child, and an even greater opportunity for the guardian to sow the seed of knowledge and of righteousness in the heart of the child. We already talked about it. Here, I just wanted to highlight that when it comes to nurturing, it is a natural process. Okay? Being critical is not okay. Right? This comes from the I am okay, you are okay. There is a book called that. It is very, I read it when I was a teenager, and then I read it again because you need to understand that there are several states within which we interact with ourselves and with others. I am okay, you are okay. Happy situation. I am okay, you are not okay. Superiority complex, inferiority. You are okay, I am not okay. Inferiority complex. You are not okay and I am not okay. So, you see, when this is happening, first we need to know what's going on with us. Once we know ourselves, how we are behaving, and we can detect it into ourselves, we can learn to detect that into our children as well, or in our spouses, in people who are in our life. Just how and with what values we choose to influence our children have to be carefully considered. Most parents are conscious of their nurturing role and are unanimous on the need to inculcate the right values. But their list of desirable values are different. Uh, these are the four types of parenting styles that are highlighted here. There is a controlling parent um, who is just, not able to allow space for a child to naturally grow. Do that, do this, stop it, constantly instructing a child and ordering. Not saying, come here, I want to tell you something. You know what, if you really keep on bouncing the ball, you see all this china, where is that? It's going to break, and daddy and mommy have to work very hard to get the money. Alright? So it will be not good to really play ball here. You can go and play outside and give a nice hug and a kiss, and the child just runs away. Don't do that. Then it becomes, you see, even a child's ego starts to rebound in a negative way, and that becomes a trait as the child grows. And then I just came across one person who met with me recently, who is saying that the mother of her husband has not nurtured this child in a way so that today this man is sadistic in wanting to have his upper hand toward with everyone. What he says, what he does is always right. Everybody else has to listen to what he says. And that lacking of self-esteem can create havoc in the whole family. So we have to be very, very careful. This is a very nice point I wanted to make here. A Delhi-based meditation instructor and a mother of two believes that a parent is foremost a parent, not just a friend to one's children. What does it mean? You can say, I like to be like a friend, friendly. But you have to play the role of a parent. You cannot be a friend because children don't understand the difference. If you say that we are friends, then they'll treat you like a friend. And then you start to succumb to that label, then you cannot play the role of a parent, because as a parent you have to be a disciplinarian as well as a nurturer. Okay? So don't be under an illusion and start to really make the children feel confused as well. You are not friends. You cannot be friends. Alright? Friendship is between people of the same age. Okay? You can argue about it, but I'm telling you, when you argue that that's wrong, there's a misunderstanding in the mind about the correct meaning of friendship. Okay? Proper values should be instilled early in life, and children must have a basic respect for the parents. And remember, you cannot demand respect. You have to earn it. And for that, you have to be good role models. If you don't do that and keep on saying, it's like the record playing. The children just listen, like that. It won't go right. They must be taught that along with the freedoms and choices, they also have duties towards this family and society. Okay. I'm skipping a couple of them. If spiritual aspects and correct values are incorporated into a child's upbringing, it makes him better able to withstand the pressures and influences of the external world. Children must be encouraged to recognize the essential humanity of each and every person. They must be taught integrity, kindness, and honesty towards themselves and by dealing with others. So, please, every age requires that we teach the same values, but in a different way. Because as their world opens up, their value system also get modified. But the ground values will remain the same. What is right, what is wrong, will remain with the same. But the understanding about friendship, about love, about what is pleasant and not pleasant, these points have got various shades. There's nothing. You can't expect children to know everything, and said everything is in black and white. Even we don't understand, we assume that everything is to be interpreted in terms of black and white. But a wise person is the one who knows that there are many, many shades, even between black and white, with shades of gray, shades of white. So how can we expect that what is said is exactly the same? Every point has nuances and has to be interpreted according to the situation. So when we are talking about kindness, let's not mix it up with pity. You have to be kind to people who are poor. So when we go to India, and if you say to children like that, if you are not careful, some children will cultivate that sense of superiority. Oh, in America we are well off, and these children, they don't know anything. So they walk on the road and start to throw money towards the children, thinking that they are gods or something like that, Do you understand what I'm trying to say here? That attitude problem starts there. And we need to have that, we need to imbibe within ourselves and teach the children the sense of humility, humbleness, that this money has been earned because God has given to us the intellect, okay? And with that intellect, I've been able to get good education. You have got good education. And with that education and qualifications and proficiencies, we are able to go and work and earn money. So this money that we have earned is because God has given us the gifts of the body, mind, and intellect. And we must therefore be grateful for what we get, and we should share it with others joyfully and willingly. When these things are taught to the children from the beginning, be assured that it becomes part of their way of life. Like when I was a child, I was born in Africa, but we moved to India, and I was, for a while I stayed in a small town because there was no English medium school for my studies. And my mom used to, with the help of a servant, wash up the dishes and all that, and whatever was the leftover, she would mix up in a bowl and mix water with it and put some, healthy vegetables and all that, and then she would really go out, and there would be some cows grazing across the road, and the servant would go and give that to the cows, okay? And I used to say to her, why don't we really just throw it, why do you have to keep on doing this every day? It only adds to your work. And my mom says that, do you know how much it costs to have milk? And where does the milk come from? From the cows. Okay, and the cows need to eat food, and cows cannot come to us and say, may I please have some food? Okay, and you see that there is not enough grass there for them to graze. Can you see how bony they are? If you give them some food, would it not be good for them? So we can also get a healthy, a good milk. That make me understand that every little thing can be used in a positive way, in a resourceful way, not in a wasteful way. So here also, 18 trees are needed to make one ream of paper. 18 trees. That's a lot of trees. And what do we do? I just see children would go to the restroom, and they'll pull out so many pieces of napkins, and then they won't even clean their hands properly. They'll just throw it like that. And they don't even throw it properly in the bin. They'll just, because their minds are not. Habits have to be ingrained in the children to be clean. Be mindful from the beginning. You don't have to bog them down, but if you do it, they're going to learn the good habits from you. I'm telling you, people are so mindless. In the last 6 years, I have been in Sandipani Ashram, and we have got a cafeteria which we call Annakshetra. People come there to eat, and we are supposed to really be very mindful there. But most of the time, especially people who think themselves to be very educated and refined, they'll come, it says, quiet you please, or be quiet, blah blah blah, blah 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 blah. and they'll come late, not come in time. Once they get up, they will not even pick up their plates. Then you tell them that the plates are to be put there. They will not empty out the leftovers in the bucket, which we have provided. When they get up, they will not push their chairs back. And when I observe that, I come to understand very few people have that kind of good habit to push the chair back so that it goes back where it belongs. It's not a restaurant, please. But how many people have that mindfulness? Let's teach our children, wherever you sit, you be aware of what things you have taken. When you get up, make sure that everything is exactly as it was before. Make sure you take your stuff and then you leave. But what's happening is that children are not taught that. They are constantly jetting away. They have not learned these things. Who's going to teach whom? So all these values have to be taught, and we teach them in Bal Vihar. First, before we even teach, we learn what are the values, and then we can share with others. Another teacher and mother of two boys wants children to be good individuals and polite and kind to all around them, but strongly believes that one should not make them too goody-goody, for then they won't be able to stand up confidently on their own feet and face the world with its numerous positive and negative influences. Well, there is a point here to be highlighted, that if we become too idealistic, we cannot be realistic. It has to be a blend of both. Values plus realism, rationalism. It has to be a proper blend of all these three to make one worldly wise. You can be worldly smart, but it requires these values to be worldly wise. There's a difference here. Smartness means to be able to get away with whatever the situation is and survive and just get on with life. But wisdom requires, wisdom enables for one to be able to evaluate the situation as it arises and know how to face it in a most practical way. So for example, this best role model is Hanumanji. When he was flying over the ocean, he met with that fish. It was actually a Rakshasi, and she wanted to test him. So he had Ashtasiddhi and Navaniti. He was the Data. He can bless us with that. And so he was very proficient. He was very wise. And so when he said, I want to eat you, and said, yeah, sure, you want to eat it, open your mouth. And what did he do? He became small. So this is so meaningful here. We have to know what kind of attitude we should carry within different situations in life. When a person is a bully, this is for the children. If a boy is very strong and sturdy and tall and like that, and our child is just a little sticky fellow, the child should be taught, even if you are thin and this one is burly, your intellect is very, very good. So you don't have to cower down, you don't have to become afraid of this person. You just have to know how to deal with such a person. If that person says, what are you doing? Nothing. How are you? Be pleasant. Don't challenge such a person's ego. Very important. Then don't try and show off as if you are equal. You are not equal. Alright? The first moment you are able to go away from that unsafe environment, take that opportunity and go. But don't try and really involve your ego into this kind of stupid play. That is what a child or a smart, a wise person has to learn. Hanumanji just went in and came out. We should not fight with people who are functioning at the egotistic, tamasic and rajasic level. Because their intellect is not totally blooming. And he is functioning through the negative and excessive passion, tamas and rajas, so that he is not able to think rationally. No matter how much you try to rationalize or try to connect with such a person, he is clouded by this kind of veil or the curtain. He is not going to know anything what you are trying to say. This goes between spouses also. Anybody with whom you are trying to interact, first it is most crucial that you gauge the person where he or she is in terms of the condition of the body, mind and intellect. Psychologist is what you need to be, but a very spiritual psychologist. You come in front of me and you say, Hari Om Mamaji, I need to be able to know what kind of frame of mind and physiology you are in, and then connect with you. Once we connect with the other person through their heart, acceptance of whatever frame of personality you are in, and you and I have made that specific connection, then whatever you want to say, I listen to, and whatever I want to respond with, I can do it in a wholesome way. But that connection is most crucial. So once we learn to do that, with the child, you need to, of course, express yourself in a rational way. But when a child is sick and is cranky and like that, how does it help for you to keep on rationalizing? It's just the intellect is closed out. The child is only functioning through limited energy of the body and peripheral level of rajasic and tamasic emotions. That we need to be able to detect. Once you know that, then say, this is not the right time. Let's just close the chapter for the time being. Okay, go to your room, sleep for a while, or read something. When you are ready, we'll come and talk about it. That kind of assertiveness, that kind of loving approach, but firmness is necessary when communicating with the children. So I'm not saying that when you are with others, you should just be loving and not be rational. Depending upon the role that you have to play, you have to do what you have to do. Am I right or not? You see? Okay. So we should not excessively try to make the children function through the value base to a level whereby the children cannot use their intellect to gauge what is the right approach to follow in life. That's what is being said in terms of not wanting to make children goody-goody. Gandhiji said if somebody slaps you on one side, you should give another one. That's not how it's supposed to be interpreted in real life, What it means is that don't be violent. Violence, if there is fire burning, if you fuel the fire, it's only going to get bigger. So if somebody is angry by arguing or trying to retaliate or being rigid, is not going to help. Okay? So a child has to know that this kind of person is coming in my life. When children are saying that in my school there is this person who is always taking away other person's things, and when you try and tell him that you should not do that, he pushes you around and things like that. At that time, the parent and teacher need to really talk together and see what's the best course to take. Not just use your own limited idea and say, well, why don't you give one back to him? Or you do this or that, that you have to be realistic, practical and sensible about things in life. But we are just so preoccupied. What? They said, Mom, what do you want? You constantly are bothering me. Go and play. Oh, God. This is how we treat our children. And then say, he doesn't listen to me. Naturally. What part then should spirituality and a belief in God play in our children's value system? Faith in God comes from the parents. Children must be taught that the soul's evolution is as important as material things which need to be acquired in this life. That requires a lot of will within the parents to learn spirituality. Not spirituality and religion, they are two parts of the life. But most of the time what is happening is that when parents are not educated in terms of the difference between religious rituals and visiting temples and understanding of the meaning of life and who is God and what does it mean to be spiritual. But unless one learns these things, we are not going to be able to take the next step to be able to tell the children what it means. And then to give you an example, children don't like to, first of all, go to the temple because they feel very ashamed. Why? Because the children from other religious denominations in the schools, they teach them, oh, your religion, Hinduism, it is most confusing. You say that there is only one God, but you pray and so you have got so many gods in the temple. So, and you have got all these animal faces and all that. I don't want to even know about that. And so they don't know what it means. And so they feel ashamed. And you tell them to go to the temple, so they reluctantly come. But they also don't feel good about it. It is so sad. So we need to take time to teach them. Okay? And once they learn, they need to also be able to understand that spirituality is the way of life that we live, knowing that I am not the creator of everything, that I am using everything that God has created to recreate and remold everything. And so we should not take pride into all of our achievements as if we are totally doing everything. This value system should be appropriately taught to them like that. So we give so many, in Chinmaya mission we tell a lot of stories about that, don't we? I think you have heard this story, but I'll tell. Some of you may not have heard. That children love this story. I tell them, the modern scientists who have been able to even go to different planets and they've achieved so much, they decided that we need, if we believe in God, that we need to really, really think about God as our Father. And so they sought an interview with God. And through telepathic abilities, they were able to connect with God, and they made a conference call. Okay, and so God said, my children, tell me, what can I do for you? So they said, dear Father, we want for you to now retire because you've been working for aeons and aeons, I think it's just fair. I think we have learned enough, as you can see how progressive mankind is today. Oh, that's so good. I'm very proud of you, definitely. So that's fine. I want to retire and I would like to have a cottage. So I request, can you just build one small cottage for me? And once you've done that, I will know, I will have tested you and you can then retire. I will retire and you can then take over. So the scientist went and started to order all the equipments that were needed to build the cottage. And God says, hey, wait a minute. Where are you going? Why are you ordering these things? Well, we have to build the cottage, so we are just giving orders for the supplies. God says, no. Those are my creations. You create your own soil. You create your own cement. You create your own wood. And once you've done that, then you can come to me and say you are all ready for me to retire. At that moment, the scientists came to understand that, yes, God has given us the intellect with which we can use the 5 base elements, earth, water, fire, air, and space, to do everything that we are doing. Okay? But we cannot create anything afresh. Only He is the one who is capable of doing that. So their ego was inflated, and from then onwards they never tried to think that we are the supreme. And so we need to teach the children that none of us really own anything in this world. We don't have to go into jargonic philosophy, but we need to make them understand that everything belongs to God, Everything is meant for our use, but we should use it with discretion and proper value system. Hmm? Okay. When both parents are spiritually inclined, collectively they succeed in teaching their children that spirituality must form the basis of their actions. And I see that most of you are Chinmaya Mission members and you are doing that. So I bow to you in all appreciation. This picture here is what we have to be very careful about. I just came across one case where a very smart young man, when he was in the 10th grade, came across some friends who influenced him to convert to Christianity. And he didn't even tell his parents because he got a girlfriend who was a Christian from Kerala. And from that day onwards, he started to involve himself in drugs and all that. Well, anyway, slowly he was able to complete his 12th grade, high school. But after that, he has just gone astray. And he would lie, and he would do all sorts of things, and parents started to really worry, but they couldn't figure out what was going on. And one fine day, the police came to their house because they found and wanted to take the child to the jail. Why? Because the child had stolen stuff from his friend's house. Why? Because he wanted to do drugs. That's the day when his parents' eyes opened up. He's still struggling. So influence from other religions can really make the child become very, very confused and wouldn't know what to do. So from childhood, we need to really make sure that they are clear about what does religion and spirituality mean. Now this comes about discipline and value system. Swami Rama wrote in his book, Love and Family Life. You can buy that, it's a good book. Children should never be treated cruelly or harshly in the process of being educated. Here it says you better obey, okay? That's not allowed. Physical harm, physical abuse is not allowed, but emotional abuse is worse than physical abuse. And we must not raise our voice unless it is most necessary. And that too after a while, when the child has understood that the message is don't you dare disobey mommy's or daddy's rules, then you give a hug and say, mommy and daddy still love you. You need to know that it's wrong to make a mistake or it's wrong to do things that you did, but nonetheless, we will always love you. You have to assure them of unconditional love. You have to discipline, but at the same time nurture them. Because otherwise they will really, their ego can be very tender. And they can start to really get confused and go the wrong way. The whole essence of discipline is wrapped up inside a small truth called love. If you really love your children and tell them not to do something, they will rarely misbehave. But you have to know how to tell, okay? When disciplining is needed, it should be done gently. The parents must show that they are upset, that they are not happy with the child's decision. A child can come and start to cajole you and play this game of manipulation, and they are so good at it. But you must let them know that you are not happy. It is called tough love. At times you have to be extremely tough to mend them. Okay? Otherwise, they will not be getting the right message. And if you need to sulk for a while, it's okay. You know? But by telling 50 times, you are doing more damage than by telling once and then be quiet and not respond to their other communication. That is the silent message of saying, I will not accept that kind of behavior. As parents come in, I'm telling them so many times, but they are not listening. Well, whose fault is that? Why could they not be told once and say, look in the eyes and I told you not to do it. Sit there, be quiet until mommy says you can get up. And think about what I'm saying. And just get on with work, you know. But that doesn't mean that you forget about the child and after 2 hours you come back and the child is forward sitting there, you know, in the corner. that is also a punishment. So you have to be very mindful about all these things. Fear should never become part of the disciplining, as this robs the child of self-confidence. We have to be so tender in our understanding towards children. They are very tender and delicate. I'll show you one part which I should get on, otherwise we will be taking too much time. A gentle show of disapproval is all right for small mistakes, but strict discipline is essential as far as eating and sleep times are concerned. Please know that you should have 7 hours of sleep. Your children need to have 7 hours of sleep, as 8 hours of sleep as well. And if you are cranky, it's because you are not sleeping well. You are not eating well, then you expect children not to be cranky. That's because they are also doing the same thing. Simple facts of life, you know. So these are the 4 types of parenting. This authoritarian is wrong. It's too much, you know, the instructions and orders. Authoritative as parents are, you know, they are good. They show their authority, their position. And that's why I'm saying you cannot be friends as well as parents, you know. You have to play the role of disciplinarian, authority, but that's why they look up to you. Otherwise, you know, with friends you look at them, all right? And when there are the others whom you don't respect, you look down upon them, which we don't want to do. So let them look up to you in terms of respecting you and you setting the right guidelines and right approach towards life. And they respect you and they will really feel awesome towards you. You will be the correct kind of role model. This permissiveness is not good. And so neglectful is the worst kind, alright? This is very common, I'm sure you have heard about it, so I'm not going to go into that. In any case, it is the bad behavior that should be reprimanded, not the child. Your behavior is making me upset. Be clear. This habit has to go. You are bad, that is wrong. You are so horrible. These labelings and negative comments about that, please. It's worse than it is like a scar which will start to go so deep that they'll start to be deformed in their personality. It's horrible to do that, really. Children have pure emotions when they are young and slowly grow to reason. If parents only display strong negative emotions, the child cannot understand that for them it is only a passing phase. This affects the child much deeper than we imagine. Being mindful and empathetic is crucial at every stage of parenting. Parents who indulge in their children every small desire and are hesitant in discipline them, that's wrong. Okay? Some better off parents in particular make this mistake of overindulgence and allowing children to throw tantrums and have their ways. We should not be manipulated so easily like that. All right, come back here, I'll give it to you. Because we are feeling guilty about not having given enough time to them or whatever. How are the values to be imparted? By living them, of course. As an old saying says, the best way to help a child in building a wholesome character is to have it around the house, meaning you be that, okay? Have you ever looked into the eyes of your child and seen the unconditional love that lives deep within them for you? That's true love. And that's how you know you are a good parent. A parent's love never fails that way. Indeed, no matter how much you resist being a role model to your children, you cannot escape it. So why not be one? Okay, you have to be a good role model. Children learn from what you do, not from what you say. And don't give up, because children sometimes don't learn so easily. And when children say, when I grow up, I'm going to be like that, we also have to keep on saying, when I grow up, okay, I'm going to be, when I grow old, actually, I'm going to be a good grandparent. I'm going to really look back and see how nicely I had a good time with my children. And be really loving, be wholesome. I love this word wholesome. I can keep on using that all the time. This is a nice thing. Sri Aurobindo says the first thing to do in order to be able to educate the child is to educate yourself, to be master of yourself. If you keep on being irritated and impatient all the time, you are not the master of yourself. Something is wrong with you. You are not slept well. Something, your body is aching. Your mind is disturbed. You are affected by somebody's behavior towards you, etc. So you need to take care of your problems. Then only you can take care of other people's problems. You need to feel wholesome through the body, mind, and intellect to nurture your children. You must take care of yourself. It's not selfishness. It's not self-centeredness. It is your duty towards yourself. All right. So, to speak good words and to give advice to a child has very little effect if one does not oneself give him an example of what one teaches. You have to do what you say, and you say what you do, and then you role model your entire personality appropriately so that the children don't have to be told. They imitate you 100%. One child, her mother keeps the hair open. So she also wants to keep them open. And I say to her, why don't you tie it? Your face looks so much beautiful because I can see your whole face. And she looks at mom. What does it mean? She said, my mom is not doing that. Why are you telling me to do that? It's very simple, It's not only children who grow. Parents, you need to grow as well. As much as we watch to see what our children do with their lives, they are watching us to see what we do with ours. I can't tell my children to reach for the sun. All I can do is to reach for it for myself. These are the values. I teach my kids good family values, development, learn something new, reciprocity, do something nice. When somebody does, you return that love, right? Not as a transaction of business, but appreciation. And be ready for tomorrow. Don't just say, oh, well, I'll take it as it comes, Doesn't work so well. The foundation of the child is the example set by his parents, because emotional bonding is his first and most basic way of learning. Initially, all learning is an emotional experience. So we need to nurture them. Gurudev was saying that there's a book called it's a small booklet, my culture, my children, Hindu culture, Hindu parenting, something like that. I'll show it to you. He says that when a child is in the womb, okay, the child starts to be affected by what the mother thinks, what mother eats, what mother feels. Alright? And all those are already being received by the child, and the foundation is being made at that time. This is a very nice story. That at the time when Hiranyakashipu was the king demon, and he was, trying to kill so many deities and all that, devas and like that, Indra got concerned, and he was thinking like, what should I do? So when Hiranyakashipu was out trying to conquer other lands, he went to his kingdom, Hiranyakashipu's kingdom, and he took all the pregnant ladies to Swarga and started to nurture them with all goodness so that the children would grow up to be positive, and not demonic by nature. When he was experimenting like this, Naradji came along and he said, oh my, this is a very fascinating experience. I want to also participate. I think what I'll do is I'll take one lady and I'll take that lady to Vaikuntha, where Lord Vishnu resides. That's where he lived. So he took Hiranyakashipu's wife. What was his name? What was her name? I guess nobody remembers. Never mind. So she took he took her, and she was placed in a nice, beautiful, sattvic environment with rishis around and lot of beautiful discourses and natural environment, ambience, healthy food to eat and like that. Excuse me. The child that was born of that woman was Prahalada. And Prahalada, although born of demonic parents, turned out to be, realized at birth. All right. So this is to be understood that from this it is to be understood that the sanskaras, the good value system, begins from the womb till the tomb. Okay, it's a process. Okay, so it doesn't stop at one level and start to uh, be there only. The quality of relationship between husband and wife has a far-reaching influence on the child's psyche. The family environment is important and should be based on love. The child should perceive and feel the love between his parents and should see them leading a balanced life. So it should be a given that parents, husband and wife, will never argue or have disagreements in front of the children. It should be a law in the house. Let it be done privately, all right? Because otherwise children learn what they see, all right? Then dignified behavior towards all, giving adequate space according to the age. If there is a difference of 2 to 3 years between two children, the younger one can be given a lot more nurturing through hugs and all that, but the older one should be given more privileges and with clarity of responsibility. When that is done, the older one will learn to be responsible because he is given the respect of being older and given more space. And the younger one should be instructed that you cannot just go to his room and start to pick what you want. Then the older one will start to feel very wholesome within himself, and he will start to nurture the younger one because you explain that 5 years difference, how many hours in one day and how many experiences you get in one day. Multiply them by the week and the month and the year and think of how many more experiences your elder sibling has. Therefore, he becomes wiser and you're still to get those experiences. So if you look up to your brother or sister, he's going to help you to learn more things. And so respect has to come, and the older one has to be taught that because the younger one doesn't know better, that he's behaving like that, so you become big-hearted. And that way you teach them the right value system. It's very important, and don't you just barge into their rooms and start to do whatever you feel like. There should be house rules where whatever you pick up from wherever, you should put it back appropriately. When you come back into the house, your shoes should be in the right place, your jacket should be in the right place, the bag should be in the right place. Your room should be neat and tidy. Whose room is that? Yours. If you keep your body dirty, would you like that? Would you like for your inner body to be dirty with all the kinds of garbage in it? No. Then this house is supposed to be like that. Okay? So when they learn to value this kind of cleanliness and organized system, as they grow up, they will imbibe that, and when they go into their professional world, that will become their special asset. Being organized and clean and systematic and value-based. Half the battle is won right there. But if you don't have that habit, how are you going to really expect the children to learn the same thing? These were in the making. I couldn't finish with the rest of the decoration there. What the children see in the house is what they'll either emulate or revolt against in their own relationship. So you are teaching them by behaving the way you do. If the kitchen is messy all the time, they learn that's how it's supposed to be. Okay? If your kitchen is tidy and neat, but not too picky that you can't even move this table from here to there, then it becomes too autocratic. That is not necessary either. But being organized is neat is the way to do things. There is no need to pretend harmony. Conflicts are natural and a part of any relationship. But in any conflict or argument between the parents, it must be made absolutely clear that the children are not responsible. If you have an argument, Children need to know it's okay. Mommy and daddy had a disagreement, but it's all right. We are not angry with each other. We just had a difference of opinion. So that children are so sensitive. They start to feel like something is not right. Then they start to have bad dreams. And that deteriorates from one level to the other. We have to learn to be very observant and very, very sensitive to their needs. Children must be helped to understand that their parents are also humans and therefore not infallible. We have to learn to say, I'm sorry, I did not know. Or that if I cannot do it, I will try and find out. And if you say, I'll do it, you must do it. If you don't keep your word, they are not going to trust you anymore. Please know that. If children are thus exposed to conflict as a natural part of the relationships, then they will be able to handle it in their own lives the same way. As the saying goes further, education is not merely a qualification to get a job or success in life, nor for safeguarding one's interests. It should provide the wherewithal for a child to grow into and live a full, wholesome life. Education is that which gradually expands in its length and breadth, horizontally and vertically. Helping the child in his all-round development is an equally important parenting. For the child to grow up to be a complete and comfortable individual, he must be allowed to engage in creative activities which ease his inner self and guide him towards his heart's contentment. If such an activity he will find activity he will find completion and fulfillment, not in academics. We must encourage them to engross themselves in whatever their heart is, so long as it's not a destructive Nintendo game. Okay. Some healthy practical commandments to follow in bringing up the children. Teach your children to live from the heart, not just from the mind. What does it mean? When we are being heart-oriented, we are being intuitive, natural. But when we are being mind-oriented, we are trying to either project our emotional preferences, or our intellectual notions. So heart is the way to be. Like I said, when you connect with somebody, the first moment, it's good that you connect with the heart and I accept you as you are. And then do whatever you have to do. Believe in them and teach them to believe in themselves. I know you mean well and you are good. I love you. You are so good. It's not pampering. It's not lying. You need to, whatever he or she is good at, you really repeat that several times in the week to enhance their self-esteem. It's very crucial. It's like watering the plant at the right time, or putting the plant in the right sunshine. Okay? But if you put too much of sunshine, what will happen to the plant? It will wither. If you put too much of water meaning, giving too much of patting. So you are so good, then it is overconfidence. It's like over watering and all that. That is also not healthy. So be flexible, not rigid. Set rules, but not too many. Listen to your children. You'll be surprised how much they can teach you. Some healthy and practical continue. Make God your partner in bringing them up. I think I've talked about this before. Teach them to be self-confident. Teach them to have the courage to follow their dreams. Allow them to grow and become what they are meant to be, not what you picture them to be. I already told you in the beginning. To bring them up right, spend more time with them and spend less money for them. Lack of time is a parenting issue that has come up in recent years with the accelerating pace of life, and particularly when both the parents are working. Possibly the most pervasive, long-lived and destructive tension between parents and children is the child's desire to have more of parents' time and the parents' desire not to be bothered. It's a very sad paradox of life. It is indeed a sad reality in the world that we live today. For parents genuinely hard pressed for time is this beautiful book called The 1 Minute Father. That literally that literally work shows parents quick and time-tested ways to create and maintain a vibrant relationship with their children. You certainly know from your experience that being a good father takes more than a minute. However, there are ways you can communicate with your children in only a minute, and he has shortlisted them. Then there is this person called Spencer Johnson. He says, setting clear goals is very important. Then praising and reprimanding them according to the situation is very important, and telling simple truth. He expressed his feelings very clearly. What you say, you are making me angry. That is not the right approach. You say, when you things like that, daddy feels very sad, mommy feels very angry. And anger is not good, so let's not do that again, okay? Things like that. We have to learn these kinds of articulations from this Western world. They are very good at that. Don't say, why don't you do it like this? If I were you, I would do it like that. Alright? That would really work better. You think about it. Let's try and think what should be done. Stimulate their intellect, you know. Who would want to go through 15 or more years in a job one doesn't want to look forward to? That is about parenting also. Parenting has its own rewards though. It has been constantly changing. Finally, one says, even today when I feel that most of my parenting years are behind me, I'm still growing in it along with my kids. That time will come. I'm going to skip that. I'll give you a copy of this, okay? The different roles, all right, we play. These are the values. I have listed them. This is the repetition of Khalil Gibran's arrow. And okay, this is the soul-searching activity that we need to go through. I'll just read them and you need to think about them, please. Are we in touch with the feelings of our children? Okay, this is emotional quotient test. Can they express how they feel easily with you? Can you recognize their feelings clearly? Can you guide their emotions? While communicating, who is listening? How do they express their dissatisfaction? Do you always expect something in return? That means you are being businesslike. How do they or you react when they fail? Do you accept them as they are, or you want them to be like something else? Can you give them and receive love effortlessly? How frequently you hug your children? How frequently are they asked to say sorry? Your tool for improvement is comment, criticize, order, blame, explain with love, or demonstrate. You have to do that. This is supposed to be an exercise. If it was a workshop, this is what we would have done. Does your child get easily, frequently hurt? That means something is too sensitive and you need to work on that. So it is like a branch of a tree which is not growing normally. So you need to work on that. If it is a bad habit, you need to even cut it. Meaning that you have to be very, it's called tough love. You have to really be very, very strong in saying, I will not accept this kind of habit and behavior from you. I want you to decide what you are going to do about it and tell me. We'll talk about it after one day. Tomorrow, you and I will meet at this time. Next day, you keep the word, you sit down and talk to him. Have you thought about it? No, I don't feel like. No, that's not going to help. If you don't think about it and we don't have the solution today, that none of what you need to wish to do will be fulfilled as well. You have to be tough, okay? Do you prefer your child to be go for tit for tat? You know, do you always slip into past while communicating and responding? You always do that. What a lie. There's nothing. We should remove these two words from our dictionary. I never did it and I always do it. Because when you do that, the children also learn the same thing. And there's no situation where you can ever say never. And you can say always. These are lies. Don't use them, please. It conveys a wrong message. It misdirects the mind of a child. Okay? Do you always, how do you feel when your dear one gets something more than you think they deserve. These are all soul-searching questions that you need to take care of, okay? I have another small uh, thing that I want to show. This is it here. Please just watch this. This is so good, all right? I'm sorry I'm taking a little longer, but it's very good. What are the kids, what are they aspiring from us? They are telling us, please be gentle with me. I shall treasure your love forever, but be firm whenever and wherever necessary. It makes me feel secure when you do that. Do not let me form bad habits. That's what they are looking for. Find them in the early stages and warn me. That's what they want. Never correct me in front of my friends or classmates. Advise me in private. Never make me feel that my mistakes are sins, that it's the end of the world, you know. It spoils my sense of values. Do not give me money whenever I ask without knowing how it would be spent. Don't postpone to answer my questions. If you do, I may have to stop asking questions and seek information elsewhere. Don't suggest that you are perfect. It would be a shock for me if I discovered that you are not. Never think it is below your dignity to apologize to me, since an honest apology makes me feel proud of you. I always love experimenting. Don't discourage, but please encourage me to experiment. Don't make rash promises. Remember that I feel badly let down when promises are broken. Don't forget that I cannot thrive without lots of love. But I don't need to tell you all the time that I need your love, do I? And that's it. So, any thoughts or questions? Please can you have the lights on? I think it's a nice answer. Was supposed to finish at 8. I've taken more than half an hour more. But I was hoping that 7 to 8 would be the session, and we could have some half an hour for question answers or any exchange of thoughts. I hope you found this satsang to be useful.
Yes, very useful.
Very quickly prepared. So please forgive me for any errors of commission and omission. Any thoughts?
I have a quick question. You mentioned about how some of the things the child gets while the child is still in the womb, and if at the time when you're expecting you weren't aware of it or weren't cognizant of what kind of impact it might have, what does one think about that, or just leave it and not worry about those things? Is that
any other person's feedback on that? Did you understand what she is saying? Can you just stand up and answer?
Yeah, I was just asking that you mentioned that while one is expecting, it's the environment and your thought process that makes a lot of difference.
Use the mic.
Oh no, that's okay. I'm sure they can hear it. So what I was trying to find out is if an individual at that time when I was expecting was not cognizant of what could impact, when you are pregnant, how does one think about it now? I mean, that part is already done. It can't be changed. So
any thoughts on that? This is a forum.
Since it can't be undone, there's nothing you can do about it. Just accept it and move on. And try to do whatever you do today, push out whatever you do, is do it well.
Yeah, and also I would add to that I don't think there's a one-to-one correlation, to be honest with you. In other words, if I smoke, I don't mean that the child is going to be extremely, when one smokes when they're pregnant, for example. Because there's so many examples where the mom smoke and the children turn out to be pretty okay in American children that we've seen. So I don't think there's a one-to-one correlation. I don't think you necessarily have to punish yourself because, we didn't know what we did when, we all went through that 30s of, the phase of life when we all are bearing kids. But I don't think like he says, this cannot be undone, but on the other hand, don't punish yourself.
Yes.
I think it's more about the environment is, you can't blame yourself because you were in that environment, because the situation made you to be there. And there's always a reason why people are there at certain situations, and that happen for a reason. So don't take the blame entirely that a child was affected because I was in such an environment, So, I mean, for example, like, people living in a slum area, the kids are not to be blamed because the parents are there, or, but it's the environment or the situation that the parents are there. They don't have a proper house. I mean, like the movies, a Slumdog Millionaire, clearly shows us that every child wants to aspire what they want to be and what they can be, but then it's a situation, one can be bad or one can be good, and that's where you are. So if you blame your parents, no. The mother has given birth to you, and that's all you're thankful for, and you move on. And that's how the child should feel at that point, and then nothing more. So at least be glad that you were able to give birth to a child, and then proceed that how you can frame the child in a better way.
So, the sum total of the whole point is this, that as was said, you cannot go backward. It's water under the bridge, it's flown. But what's important is that you extract the lesson from that and make it part of your understanding as you go forward in life. If you have not extracted the lesson, then the life is going to bring a similar situation again in your life, whereby you have to go through that, not exactly the same way, but in a similar way, because there's a beautiful way that is being explained, that whereas in an academic institution, you go and first get the lessons and then you get the test. But in life, what happens is that first you get a test and then you derive the lesson. And that lesson becomes part of your wisdom. With that, you live and evolve, and then you go further in life. That is the way evolutionary process is supposed to go forward. But the fact is that we become stuck in the past emotionally. And for example, I give this example some of the times. Somebody looks at the scar on my arm and start to say, oh, what happened here? Oh, this is so big. What happened to you? And if I were emotionally stuck there, I would say, what am I going to tell you? This is such a long story, and I feel so sad about it. When I was a little girl, when I was going to the college, I really fell down and I broke my arm, and then I really lost my one whole ear, and I really was so badly suffering, and I feel like crying when I think about it. That is stuck point. I look at the scar and somebody asks, and what happened to you? Oh, don't talk about it, it's all done and finished with. I was bad. I should not have taken the bicycle and go to the college on that day because it was raining, but I didn't listen to my mom. I took the bicycle and I went, and then when lorry was coming across and my bicycle swirled and the raincoat went down, and I tried to save it, and I met with an accident and I broke my arm. And I had to have so many surgeries, and I lost one whole ear because I was left-handed. But you know what? I learned the lesson. I'm never going to really disobey my mom, and I'll do what is the right thing to do. It's okay. That's how you should live. You learn the lesson and carry on with life. No matter what the situation. Life is meant to be like that. I hope it makes sense. Any other thought? What's the most important point that you have learned tonight through this workshop or through this presentation? If each of you can just raise a hand and tell me one point that you learned. In one sentence or two sentences, I'd be most grateful.
We should not be more authoritative.
Okay.
For allowed children to go up.
Practice what we preach.
What's the right attitude?
We need to be gentle and then love and listen to them properly.
Okay. You should not be autocratic, but you should be authoritative. You should not be too lenient. You should not be without discipline. So you should have rules. Authority is very important, but it should not be extreme. Autocratic way is wrong. You know, in democracy also, if you allow it to be too loose democracy, then it doesn't work. That I hope I'm making sense there.
Mm-hmm.
Right, next one. What did you learn?
I think Shiva we talk, we are in the same satsang on Sunday too. So lately we have been talking about this in our study group too, very on a similar thought, that we are just caretakers to these gifts of God. And Monica knows what I have gone through in terms of pregnancy. So I had a thought to share. I had a very bad first pregnancy, and I went through these first 3-4 years of my daughter's life leading a life of guilt that I did all this during pregnancy and this is going to hurt. And mostly it was hurt because of all the thoughts that people spread. Oh, you did this during your pregnancy, the child is going to be affected. And I think that guilt has passed on, or I have passed on from taking up on that guilt. And I think we're just caretakers, and we need to just show or render as much love to these kids that they're going to lead their own lives one day. Absolutely. But just we have to show them good from wrong. And I think
that's good. I'm very happy.
You reinforce that thought a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. Same thing. Love. That's the only one thing that I feel. I personally feel I lack that thing with my kids. I don't. It's always kind of like I wanted certain things done certain way, and the love factor is lacking. And when I attended the last seminar, and I think what left a good mark on me, that I'm creating a scar in their life, and I don't want them to be living with a scar. For this whole 1 week, my children are looking at me and they're like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yes." It's not that I'm trying to change, but I'm trying to do the same things, but out of more respect and more love. And I feel more at peace now, because when I walk in from work, I feel, okay, this is something I look forward.
Because you're being humane.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
I think practicing what we preach to the children. That reinforcement of that point is what I took away.
Very important. If you want to be respected, the children will love you because you are the parent. But that respect element will be missing, and there will be a huge gap created. That's why there'll be not just gap in terms of communication, but relation as well. They'll come to you because they love you, but they will not come to you to communicate, to share, to exchange thoughts and get guidance, because they can't respect you. And that's not a healthy situation.
So I think what I got from this is like how we, as Indian parents, we want the kids to do music, this and that, like
Yes.
multiple things, because you haven't done it, you want the kids to do it, And I think your point about, each kid has their own package, they know, they have something destiny. So we just have to kind of accept that and make them grow.
And
I think
encourage
it's
that
interesting,
to
yeah.
bring out the best from within themselves.
I think it's more about everything comes in a package of, earning respect. You have to give respect, and that's what it is. And I think being empathetic or compassion or love, everything adds to the package of respect. And being a role model, if you say, "I'm sorry," I have 2 boys who are 5 and 7, and they constantly fight, but they're like best friends the next minute. But they're just 2 years apart, and that's the best age. But they're like, the best part of them is how soon they forget that they have done or hurt each other, and they just move on. But why, as we parents or as spouses, we just try to hold ourselves back, saying that, why, oh, you did that, but I can also do that, kind of a thing. So you're not being a role model to the kids at the
We
same
have to
time.
learn from them too.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's what I see them, and then how soon they say sorry to each other. But as grown-ups, it's so hard for anybody
ego
to
issue.
apologize or
We
say
hold on to
sorry.
our ego a lot.
Yeah, because I really want to share this quote, which I always have it on my laptop. I see that every day. Apologizing doesn't mean that you are right or wrong, but it just means that you value the relationship more than the ego.
Absolutely.
It's so meaningful because you keep aside, you take the E and let it go. That's so important, in an ego. So I mean, this reflects what we do every day, at work or at home or with the spouse. Set aside these things, and relationship works like a miracle.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, what I took away, I think what's going to be loud in my head is the point you made about dealing with the child or with the spouse in private. So I think that is a good, tactful advice to give us today, or rather one of the more important ones in my own head. I think that's one thing I personally do is not do. Is something that I got to learn, be correcting the kid or dealing with this wife.
This wife.
This wife. Mahesh, how many wives do you have?
Is your spouse here?
That's his spouse.
So,
Got it.
why do you think we are sitting next to each other? No?
Well, I thought, people are sitting there next to
But just for this
Brought
session.
him here.
Okay.
I learned that we
You're
should live.
behind. Come
We
ahead.
should have good values within us so that we can pass it on to our kids. So that's one thing, and main thing, and also the other thing is what you said about do not argue with your spouse in front of your children. And I should say that the very thing happened this morning at my house. So I was just
Now his spouse is not here today.
Taking care of Rishi.
But I wish she was, then you would know, both of you.
No, that would have been muted.
it was not a good one, I can say that.
Yeah, like as we discussed, Ramaji, like rather than forcing us to do this, or the it's like the one thing that I learned is that it's very good, like we need to allow them freedom of learning. That's like really brings them and uplift their skills. What do they become?
Yeah, I'm sorry if I can make a point on that point that these two are raising about child comes with its own package. How do we know that? Right? I mean, every child, there got to be some bit of control or some bit of, I agree with your authoritative point that you made and not autocratic. But I think that, as much as the science says about the left brain and the right brain, I think our kids are going to be definitely stimulated in their mathematics and science just because of our, schooling system and whatnot. I feel that between the ages of, 4 and maybe 15 or something is when you can really get them to try out multiple things, like be it music, be it dance, be it the other artsy stuff that we all didn't have a chance to develop. But maybe also because I definitely was much lower on the Maslow's pyramid. We didn't necessarily have that wonderful thing, thinking of having satsang in my house because, hey, dude, dad was working 15 hours a day. Where are you going to have time to do all this, right? So that might be the reason why I didn't have those
So
options
you
or
have to
opportunities.
project your desires onto somebody.
It's not quite posing or forcing my desires. I think it's helping. It will help them. It will help them because
They
of
may
directing
be
them.
good at something, but they don't want to do it. You don't have to force them just because they can be good at it. They don't want to do it. It's their choice. You cannot just force them because they are good at it, that they have to do it.
But
That's
the kids
not
How
right.
do you know that?
Yeah. So until you try,
How will you know? How will you know?
No, let them try.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is that today children are so tortured in a way by having to do too many activities that when they get a chance, they want to just sit and do nothing when they get a chance. It's because, there's only so much stamina, so much of attention they can use within that period of time. So, just because they are good at everything does not mean they have to do everything. Please, for God's sake. You can try and then choose what I think I need to do. I like 50 dishes when I go to the restaurant. Am I going to really order all of them to eat? That's what you are saying. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they do come as a package. I'm telling you. What does it mean is that they bring forward their traits. Okay, let me explain to you a little bit. When we do some action out of necessity, it is nature. When we do an action out of desire to satisfy my need for pleasure, it becomes a reaction. Because what happens, this is rather deep. What is happening is that when a child, when an infant starts to be extroverted, it starts to get lessons in recognizing and memorizing the objects of the world. It looks through the eyes and doesn't know. It looks at the flame of the light and tries to touch it. Mom says, no, and the baby cries. When mommy is not looking, it will touch. And then it gets burnt, and then it knows never to touch that flame again. That becomes a lesson. Similarly, we get so many lessons in life. Okay? Those lessons become the primary memory bank in our psyche. And through the mind sheath, when a person dies, the body is, the food sheath is left behind. That is the physical body. The vital air sheath disintegrates. The mind sheath, the intellect sheath, and the bliss sheath, those are carried forward by the spirit within. And so it goes forward and chooses the ambience and body and the mother through which it has to fulfill its destiny and acquire a realm within which it can fulfill further desires. And that's how it carries the package of all the memories of the past, not in terms of activity and incidents, but the extraction of it as essence. So if some child has learned tabla, I know of this 4-year-old child who is so proficient, he is playing with his father, and the father is talking and being interviewed, and he's just playing tabla. He's so good at it at the age of 4 years. Where did he get this? This is carried forward as a package. Same way you carry forward certain likes and dislikes because you have repeatedly used them now. That's why Gurudev says the sin is not in action, it is in reaction. Reaction means I like it, I want it more. Alright, so you keep on doing it, it becomes a habit. And once you get trapped into it, it becomes your obsession. And when it becomes your obsession, you just do it, you impulsively keep on reacting to it. And that becomes your entrapment. And for that you have to keep on coming back. That is a sin. And that's how you bring your package forward. That's why we should learn not to react. You should act. You can respond with the intellect. Sometimes you don't have to do anything. Just be there. When you don't react impulsively and without thinking, then you will know what to do and why not to do and if to do at all. And for that you need to have that awareness, alertness, and that comes when you are quiet from within. And when you are quiet and do what is to be done at the right time, then you are conserving your energy and your antenna of intellect is absolutely sharp. That's why children need to be taught to learn to not be restless all the time. They have to have quiet time. We also women particularly need to learn to summarize details and not go into each detail. It's like when they talk about something that happened, they start to relate the whole incident as if they are living in it. And that is the wrong thing to do. That's why men become very easily bored with women. It's true. Am I right or not? Is it you observe that. Okay, here is how it works. The husband comes home and the wife says, so how was your day? The husband says, fine, it was good. what's on TV starts to watch it, okay? The husband and wife said, but I want to tell you something that, what was it? What is TV? What is it? Well, you are not listening. Okay, I'm listening, tell me. You know, the neighbor that came and then today he was wearing a yellow t-shirt, you know, he was so horrible. Okay, but tell me what happened. No, but I'm telling you, see, you are not listening to me. If we get stuck into details, who wants to know what kind of t-shirt you are wearing? Please. I'm telling you, this is we are like children. Women are like children sometimes. We have to learn to extract the essence. We have to learn to detach and tell the point as it occurred. You know, she came and he wanted to have the rent, and I said, no, my husband is not here, and you know, today also he was wearing that wig. Who wants to know whether he was wearing a wig or not, you know? Your husband has come from work, he's tired. Don't you want to just be pleasant? Say, you know, you don't have to be like a goody-goody housewife. You want a glass of water, you know, not like that. But shall we have dinner now? You know, things like that. Carry on with life, but you want to just sit down and start, and then this, and then this. You know how we get bored with children telling us this, but we do the same thing. Oh God. And another thing, you know,
Did you visit
in
us?
this ideology of wanting to be helpful, this is so funny and bizarre, I'm telling you. Here, okay, I'm ready to go, and somebody says, okay, Amma, I'm going to help you. They don't wait to ask which bag to be taken and this is to be put, okay, to put it in bag. They just grab the bag and put it in the bag. You know? But wait, I need to have my keys from there, you know. In the name of helping, we just get carried away without even knowing. But I thought like this, but why are you assuming so much? Why do you have to think so much? Slow down, conserve your energy, be in the present moment. We have to learn this. And the men are totally too distracted. Can you be here? What? I'm telling you something. Okay, now tell me what to do. You know, in the meantime, they are playing with that, you know, iPad or whatever it is, you know. Their minds are like that. It's very good to read that book, Men Are From Mars, Women From Venus. We are made differently. Once you know these traits of man and woman and do exactly how they naturally function, there will be less disagreements. You'll appreciate each other more. I wish I was here. We could have done a workshop on Men Are From Mars.
There indeed.
Then we would have invited them separately, then we could have a double workshop.
So I think right now, you know what's going on in their mind is if you come here, if you come to all our houses and investigate secretly, you know, you're just stating the truth.
Well, it's better not to come to your house. Who wants to contaminate the mind? I want my mind to be just, you know, blank. Just be with God. You know. You guys are good. I know your houses are very beautiful. I've been to some, a couple of them. Anyway, let's take quick turns, otherwise you'll be late going back home. Yes, please.
We have to be controlling our anger, our emotions when, you know, trying to discipline them, telling to them in a nice way, you know, better words.
That's what you meant.
Yeah, that's what.
How will you do that? It's not like a switch you can switch off, right?
No, we cannot. We should just think, you know, it's normal for, you know, for a kid to act that way. So it's our duty to tell them, you know, this is not the right way to, you know.
So we have to put them in alert.
Yeah, kind words.
Very good.
And that has a good effect on the kids.
I appreciate that.
And suppose if they do any mistake, instead of yelling at them, giving a long lecture, it is give them a space, ask them to think what they are doing, how do you think. It is better than yelling and
getting upset.
Yes. And also, even we are a grown-up, it is very difficult to have one good behavior. So if I am getting too much angry means first I have to learn how to control my anger. Then only he will learn automatically from me. So okay, my mom do that. Why can't me? So
Absolutely.
first we have to be a role model to the
inspire
kids.
them
Yes.
through our behavior.
Yeah.
The children learn what we do.
Yes.
You'll be surprised to notice that, you know. They behave exactly like you all do. Good.
Yeah, same about me also. Means how you're behaving in front of your kids. So like you're showing anger kind of thing. So first you think about you, what you're doing. Then you can give lesson to your kids.
You know, it will be also a good idea for you to get a book from the library and learn the body language science. Everything is not 100%, but you should be able to detect. You have to be like a detective and psychologist, you know, combined in one. Poirot and what is it? Poirot, this detective.
Oh, Poirot.
There's a French detective, you know.
Hercule Poirot.
Oh, yeah, or Perry Mason and whatever. You have to really see, as soon as the child walks into the house, as soon as the husband walks into the house, from the demeanor you should be able to tell what kind of state they are in. If they are lethargic, you'll be able to, if they are jumping, you'll know they are in Rajasic mode. If they are smiling, you'll know they are satvically Rajasic. This is how you have to learn to detect the moods of the person. Then you will know what to do at a specific time. Very simple. But what we do is we start to label them. Today is very naughty. Today is in a bad mood. Not like that, you know. We have to say, just detect and say, so if somebody is in a Rajasic mode, if a child is in a Rajasic mode, it looks like he's at too much sweet or he's restless, you know, he's going to feel tired very easily, he may be even irritable today. Let's see what's going on and work accordingly. The situation will arise like that, you know. You have to be like a doctor as well, you know. For that, you have to be healthy. If you are at home, take a nap. If you are at work, you take a break. You have to give yourself time to nurture yourself, you know. If you overdo it, then you will become easily irritable, you know. And unless you have done extraordinary sadhana to be able to go beyond the body level and sustain any situation that comes, you will be very easily swept away by the physical realities and emotional realities of your personality. Very good, thank you.
All these days, like, you know, I really feel that like, we have got promoted like as a parent, like they got promoted like as a parent, but all these days we are just, you know, like keep complaining about the parenthood like we have been experiencing with our parents, and like, you didn't do this for me, you didn't spend time with me, and like all those kind of complaints. But now I realize like I have to just forget all those and be a nice parent.
They
like,
did the best they
you know,
could.
This is my period, like, you know, I have to do my best. And like the point which you said, like I always neglect my kids, like because like I'll be in a different mood, like searching for jobs and all those. I said, please stop nagging me. So I don't spend time, so like I realized that like, no, I need to spend more time, and then they see the world through us, and they are the first one. They learn from us and they see the world through us, so they interact first with us. So we have to, you know, give them that confidence that they can face the world through us. And
optimum attention has to be given to them at any time. If you are cooking something, switch off the gas. We have to first look at them and say yes.
But we don't do that. Actually, practically we don't do that.
Which is very bad. Which is not good.
Yeah.
You know, it does not bring the right kind of attitude in their hearts.
They always feel neglected because they don't get attention when they need. You know, when you go and do that after 5 minutes, they don't need us at that time.
They never mind.
Yeah. I don't need you now.
But that means that they will not look up to us, because they want for us to be, they want for you to want them to be with you. What you are saying is, I don't care for you.
Yeah, that is what.
That is the message you are giving.
Yes.
And who wants not to be cared for?
Yes.
You know, I couldn't care less what you need. I'm too busy with other things. everything should be put aside. What dear, what dear? You know, touch him and say, yes, tell me what is going on. And just a smile. Oh, mommy, I just wanted to hug you. That's all they want to do, really.
That's a simple thing.
Nothing special, really. But it's just that they need that. You see, that reassuring touch, that smile, that looking in the eyes and say, you are so beautiful, I love you, you are the best child in the world. They feel so good about it. It makes their day. They jump and they feel like nothing is needed in the world, you know. They'll forget all their problems as well. We can work like magic.
I just want to, I just could relate to the fact that my child is overly sensitive. I knew that my child was overly sensitive. I'm aware of that, but I did not. I am an overly sensitive person too, but I did not realize that, she was learning all that from me. My spouse, when we have an argument, my spouse says that she's exactly like you. Like, if I look at her, I see you in her, and I'm like, did I give her private lessons on sensitivity or something like that? I don't think so, but now I realize that
she's
her sensitivity is imparted. Like, I've given her I've made her what she is now. So I need to work on.
I'm so glad you have realized that. It's very important. And don't compare. One thing I forgot to tell, don't compare your children. And don't compare yourself with your spouse as well. The time will come, I was just sharing with somebody that if you traveled as soulmates for a long time, that your features will also start to become similar. But that depends upon how often you have traveled as souls together. I used to have a niece, and my cousin sister and her husband, when they would be sitting together, you'd feel like they're twins. They were husband and wife. So much similarity, But that will come when your minds are tuned and you think alike, and when you go to a party, the husband is looking at you and you look in the eyes and you will know what he wants. That kind of communication should be established. That is the tuning of the hearts and the mind. And that should be the goal. It shouldn't be like he has to tell you 50 times. I had to tell you again and again.
Now we'll take leave.
Yeah, we'll just do closing prayer very quickly. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om.